Hello.
Hey,
How you
hi.
doing?
I'm
Great to see your
good. How are
face.
you?
I'm good. I'm just evening out my camera here.
Yeah, me
How's
too.
your day?
I'm gonna just like raise this camera just a tiny bit so the top of my head doesn't get totally chopped off. Cool. Hi, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Where are you in the world?
I'm good. Oh, look, 333 is an angel number. I'm good. I'm in Santa Monica. Where are you right now? Or is it
I'm
San
actually in Utah right now. I'm looking at
Oh,
a mountain range. It's really
oh,
gorgeous.
beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. I have friends going up to Aspen, and I have a bunch of friends going to Utah as well, like Deer Valley,
hmm
over the next week or so. So send me pics later. I'm missing
Okay,
it.
we'll do. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous here.
Hi, Will. So cool. So I'm so excited. There's so many people that are so just thrilled that you are joining us today on this live, and I'm so grateful just for your time. I know you're so busy, but you've been such an inspiration.
I'm
And you've
actually
had
not. I'm really chilling.
oh no, but it's good. I mean, chilling is self care, and self care is still an active form of self love. So,
Well, I have
um,
the luxury, I guess, to chill right now. It's a luxury to be able to slow your life down. A lot of people can't,
yeah.
and so I'm definitely aware of that, and
Mhm.
just trying to make use of the time as much as I can for myself, and also to try to be of service and support to other people where I can, how I can.
Yeah, and I see that and I feel that so I've been sharing your poetry and just sharing your posts because I feel that, and I think that that's one way we really resonate and connect, because I'm sure you also know I'm so rooted in service, and
Mhm.
I probably should chill a little bit more.
Yeah,
but
I would love
just
to hear more. I mean, I've done a
yeah.
little bit of research, but it's always nice to connect with somebody in person and hear about their life.
Yeah, no, and it's so great. And you guys, I'm gonna just dive into a super quick bio on InQ, and he can tell you a little bit more about himself as well. But I had the pleasure of meeting him like on Zoom, basically, through a group of ours. We have sort of like this tribe of people that are all like-minded, and I was able to hear InQ get like, what's the proper word? Not recite. What's the word that you say to when you're delivering your poetry? What's the proper term for
Yeah,
that?
recite is great,
Recite,
perform is great.
perform. It
I don't
was a
have any
performance.
I don't have
So
any ownership over the semantics of it.
So I think perform is actually the best word. And I was so moved by his words. I was moved by his voice, by his message. So I reached
Thank
out
you.
and I said, can you please come on and share your light and your wisdom and your words? And he said, yes, now he's here. So I'm so grateful to you. So just to give you guys a little bit of background on our magical guest today, if you don't already know who he is an award-winning poet. He's a multi-platinum songwriter. He is obviously a very highly esteemed storyteller. He is named one of Oprah's, and by the way, I love Oprah. So
Who doesn't love Oprah?
I know, right? And so it's so cool that you are one of Oprah's, top 100 list of the world's most influential thought leaders. And it's so obvious why. And so, he's just influenced, inspired millions of people all around our globe, around the planet, with his art, his poetry. His videos have gone viral. I was listening to them just earlier today, and again, so moved. So I'm really excited for you to do a couple poems during this time, because it moves me. Like I get goosebumps when you're performing your
Thank
poetry.
you. Yeah, I
So
appreciate that.
yeah. So, I'm not gonna talk more about him right now. I'm just gonna let you dive in to just giving us a little bit of background on you. And we're obviously gonna talk about your book, but I would love for the people who don't know you yet, which is almost like, who doesn't know you? But I'm just kidding. So people who don't know you, if
That's
you
my
could just
buddy
give us a little
Alex in the
background.
background. Um,
I see them.
Everything is very like nonchalant these days. There's like
Mhm.
people walking around in the background. There's kids. There's animals.
Oh yeah,
Um,
our dogs just kind of jump in and try to take over. It's cool. It's life.
No, I actually really like it because I think it humanizes people rather than like this ultimate celebrity culture thing that we have that either looks up to
Yeah,
people or down on people.
yeah,
It's good to look at people.
yeah.
So that's actually why I write my poetry. At least I'm trying to look at my own life, and then I'm trying to reflect that back onto the poems, and hopefully then be a mirror for the audience to see themselves inside of my work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was born and raised in Santa Monica, California. I'll give you the quick bio.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm from. I went to
Yeah.
Samo High. I went to John
Oh
Adams.
wow.
And is that where you're from too?
No, I'm actually from Pasadena, but I'm like you. I'm born and raised in LA.
Yeah.
So a native. We're kind of rare, but it's just Santa
Yeah.
Monica's where we're now.
I actually love Pasadena. Pasadena is a really beautiful place to visit.
Yeah, I love.
Um, anyway, so yeah, I was born there. My mom's a school teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and my father was not around at all, and I didn't meet him until I was like 15 years old. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that along with a bunch of other things made me very analytical about myself and about my environment. I never really felt like I fit in. I think I was always kind of looking outside of myself for my identity or what a man was supposed to be like or what I was supposed
Mm-hmm.
to act like. And I was also naturally very curious. And then when I was like, I would say 13, I fell in love with hip hop. But when I was like 14 and 15, I started really like freestyling.
Oh,
And that was my
that's so
first
young.
form. What's that?
You're so young. You're just like
Um,
already musically inclined, artistic.
well, it was just, I mean, it still is. It was and still is an unbelievable art form of freedom and expression. And freestyling specifically is uh, the fastest way to be in the moment because you can't
Yeah.
think about anything else but the next word or the next line or
Mm-hmm.
the next rhyme. Otherwise, the actual train of thought falls off the tracks. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think unconsciously that became my first form of meditation because
Yeah.
I would just freestyle and I would get out any of the unresolved thoughts that were in my head or in my heart. And it made me feel empowered.
Mm-hmm.
I think in many ways for the first time in my life to feel like I could create something and say something. And then when
Mm-hmm.
I was 19, I wound up at an open mic for poets in LA called the Poetry Lounge, which is still my home poetry open mic. And
Yeah.
they get 350 people every single week, still, before the quarantine at least.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an environment where people sign up on a list and read a poem.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was there at the beginning with the core crew, and I fell in love. It was the first time I saw people being celebrated for their vulnerability. You know,
Yeah.
people would get on stage, they'd say something true, and they would snap and clap and cheer. And I got on stage and I was doing my rapping a cappella, and it just was accepted by the
Yeah.
community. And then we ended up being on HBO's Def Poetry Jam over the years, and we won the
Mm-hmm.
National Poetry Slam Championship. And
Yeah.
one day I woke up and I realized I was more of a poet than an MC, and that was the beginning of the poetic journey.
Wow. It's beautiful. And I never really what you said just it just connected me to something that, it was that that rapping, that free form, it really just made you super present, right? And that's why it was
Mm-hmm.
like a form of meditation. And I really love that you share that because we all kind of have different ways we find presence, right? Like we're taught we have different tools and there's meditation, there's breath work, there's different things, but I just think it's really cool to remind people that it's how you find presence and to whatever connects you to that moment, like dive into that, right?
Yeah, there's
Especially.
no wrong way to find presence unless you're hurting somebody,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
the thing about like freestyling or battling, for example, you know, when I look back on my battling days, I'm proud of the experience. I'm not proud of all the shit I said. I said
Mm,
stuff that now I look back on and I don't stand by. I didn't even really mean in the moment, but I was trying to hurt somebody's feet, you know, because
mm,
when you're in a battle, you're in a fight. You're in a mental
yeah.
fight with someone and you're making things up, you know, so but what I will say is that your reputation or your ego is on the
Mm,
line. And if you
Mm-hmm.
lose, it's like an ego death,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's almost like rock climbing, in a different way. It's not physical, but it's mental and emotional. If you don't really grab that next hold
Mm-hmm.
and you're not fully present,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna miss and you could fall and you could hurt yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not fully engaged in what you're saying and being in the flow and being in the moment, then you're going to mess up. And if you mess up, uh, there's a part of you that's going to die in that moment. So there's high stakes.
Right.
And I think that that's why many people will even search unhealthy things to put them in the moment,
Right.
um, because they don't want to deal with you know,
Right.
all of the other thoughts that are in their head.
Right. I agree. But I mean, there's something that like I've been taught with my healers and something I talk about is just almost like you, in a way, you want the death of the ego, in a sense, like our ego protects us and it guides us and it helps us set standards, but in a lot of ways it is that ego that also holds us back. So death of the ego in some respect is almost like something that you kind of want to reach in a way, don't you think?
It's necessary and it's going to happen whether you want to reach it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the journey of life. You have ego death after ego death after ego death.
Yeah.
I was walking on a trail the other day and I saw a caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, really, I stopped and I started looking at this caterpillar and thinking, like, wow, okay, it's going to have to go into this state where it
Yeah.
becomes a butterfly. And I thought, that's probably extremely painful. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's extremely painful to transform into
Mm-hmm.
something new. And we go
Mm-hmm.
through that metaphorically and in reality, physically, throughout our lives
Absolutely.
over
Mm-hmm.
and over and over again. So I think it is a good thing, but I don't think you're ever going to be able to kill your ego fully while you're here because your
No.
ego is your humanity.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no way to
100%.
fully get rid of your ego because otherwise, you wouldn't be alive. You wouldn't have individuality. You wouldn't have
Right.
separation within this energetic illusion that we're in.
Right. Well, but that's sort of like that's part of the journey, right? It's almost like layers of your ego that you kind of want to get through and get past and get over.
For sure.
Um, I love that you brought up the caterpillar because we are, the theme, and I just kind of loosely use the word theme, transforming pain into growth. How do you think pain, and I know you've talked about this as well, I'd love you to share, how do you think pain is in so many ways our greatest teacher?
Well, think about it. I mean, when is the last time you've learned something
Like,
unbelievably
really?
enlightening for your life
Mm-hmm.
that came only out of pleasure? I
That's
mean,
true.
it's rare. Usually
Mm-hmm.
it's like you go through something that's difficult and you learn something about your own strength and you
Mm-hmm.
learn something about what you would do differently
Mm-hmm.
and you decide to make different decisions in reality for the
Mm-hmm.
future. And in that way, you truly grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so for me, certainly my pain has been my biggest teacher. And,
Mm-hmm.
think about this too. You never change if your environment is perfect.
Right.
I mean, if you were fully happy with everything that was going on in your environment, you would never have the spark to make any different decisions.
It's
You
so
would just
true.
stay there,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that's what's happening individually and collectively right now. And I know this is easy to say, and on a micro level, it's very difficult. But on a macro level, I believe this.
Mm-hmm.
This is our environment changing and all of us being forced to adapt. And
Mm-hmm.
we all have to individually and then collectively decide whether we're going to adapt in a positive direction towards evolution.
No, absolutely. I agree. And it's been an interesting time, right? The last few months. And I, and a lot of my community knows that, we navigated through Corona. My sister and I were sick as well. And if,
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
but we're good,
Yeah.
and it's again just like learning, it's just learning to flow, learning to
Mhm.
flow, and your environment's constantly changing. And when you say, that pain has been your greatest teacher, and I think about like the greatest shifts that I've been through also came from that. I call them challenges, but it's essentially the same thing. You know, I dived into what I do because both my parents had cancer and we lost our dad super young.
I'm sorry.
And our mom is still with us, but they were both very young. And then that's why I shifted and pivoted and do what I do now, you know, and then having
Yeah.
my own health experiences is what shifted me into, instead of just cooking on the line as a chef, you know, I started doing a lot of consulting, and it just expanded my business in a different way. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, you know, it's absolutely, and it's just different ways of looking at it. You know, you can look at that pain moment, or and I think it's Tony Robbins that said this, but like every challenge is a gift, and I think
Right.
having that mindset's really helped me, and helped me with clients. It's just that kind of reminder that you're right. You don't. How often do you shift from just a perfectly happy, super easy place? Your greatest shifts come from pain points, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, first of all, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm sorry that you guys went through that. I'm glad that you're healthy and on the other side. And I'm
thank you.
certainly sorry to hear about your father passing. But as you said, it's not that you um, it's not that you don't probably still have an enormous amount of pain around that, but
Yeah,
it has made you who you are. It can't be separated from who you are in this moment right now.
right,
And so I think we
right,
do a disservice to ourselves to separate it in our minds and in our hearts, to wish
right.
that it hadn't happened, to look at it from the standpoint of, I regret that I did something, or I regret that that happened, rather
Mm-hmm.
than fully saying, look, I don't know why it happened. It's horrible. I have
Mm-hmm.
pain, knowledge, and process through. But ultimately, I'm grateful, maybe not for what happened, but for at least who I am.
Yeah,
And who
yeah,
I am can't be separated from what happened.
right,
Because if you hate that thing that happened to you, you hate a part of yourself then.
right,
And
right.
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and so, it's just something that I have to continue to do every day. That's I was saying about celebrity culture earlier.
mm-hmm.
And that's why I even mentioned the thing about the battles. There's all sorts of stuff in my life that I
Right,
look back on that I'm
right.
like, I wish I knew then what I know now.
Sure,
Because if I did, I would have made a different decision, or I would have
sure.
handled the situation. And that is the growth of life. But celebrity culture, we either look up to people or we look down on people. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, we all really need to start looking at each other. And
Mm-hmm.
we as influencers, whatever that means, which is so ridiculous, we need to stop looking at ourselves like we're up or down.
Right.
So every
We're
day,
equal. Mm-hmm.
exactly. Every
Mm-hmm.
day, I'm doing what we're talking. I'm trying to look at parts of my life that
Mm-hmm.
I still hold on to from this negative outlook,
Yeah.
and not ignore the pain, not pretend that it wasn't horrible, but find a way to appreciate it, because it's
Mm-hmm.
what brought me to being who I am now. And it's only if I'm fully here now
Mm-hmm.
with you that I can be empowered to be in reality and make the best decisions in moving forward and creating the type of life that I want for myself and those around me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah.
Absolutely. No, that was so beautifully said, and I agree. And you know, you actually made me think, because we can't separate that pain, and that's something that I have to work on personally, because I focus very much on the positive, and I feel that part of my purpose, is service and passion to help as many people as possible. And I feel that my journey, whether there's pain or challenges, is just kind of all a part of that process and that journey. And so
Mm,
I'm grateful for it. As you said, like, I'm not necessarily grateful for a particular thing that happened, like losing our dad, but I am grateful for the journey and the learnings and the experience. But I think that in my effort to feel that, I don't want to use the word overcome. I'm not sure what the right word is, but like I,
mm,
I think I do sometimes separate that pain, and
mm,
I put it right here, or I put it over
mm,
here, and I acknowledge that it's something there, but I love what you said, because I need to, that's a reminder for me, is that that pain is
Mm.
a part of me and it needs to be right here in me. And it's okay. It's okay to still feel that, even today,
Yeah.
many years later, but still honor what it's done for me in this journey. And I thank you very much for that. That was really,
Yeah.
for me, powerful, and I just know that it was probably powerful for a lot of people listening right now
You,
too.
you know that there's so much power in pain.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, there's no human experience without the gamut of emotions.
Right,
Of course, we've all said this 1,000 times, but there is no love without hate. I mean, they're a circle. There
right,
is no good without that,
yeah,
So there is no pleasure without pain. You would have no comparison point. And
right,
if it's a part of the human experience, there's power in it if
right,
it can be harnessed correctly. And
yeah,
part of the issue with American culture, but probably culture all around the world, and by the way,
mm-hmm.
I'm saying this to myself too, is
Mm-hmm.
that we're afraid of our pain. So we
Yeah,
usually do two things. We
mm-hmm.
either ignore our pain and distract ourselves from it
Yeah,
by blaming other people or
yeah,
whatever it is, right?
mm-hmm.
Or we victimize ourselves
Yep,
and we exacerbate our pain
mm-hmm.
to the point where we're recreating more pain.
Yep,
And neither of these uh, sides of the dichotomy in the circle, I guess,
mm-hmm.
are really healthy. It's
Right,
more, you have to be in the middle, which is to know that there is power in pain, to acknowledge your
yep,
pain, to process your pain, to use your pain, to find a way to be grateful for your pain, but
mm-hmm.
not to exacerbate it and create more,
Right,
you know, uh,
right,
and victimize yourself to your life and your
right,
circumstances, because that's not going to help you move out of it,
right,
you know?
exactly.
And yet if you're blaming other people
Mm-hmm.
and you're ignoring your pain, even by the way, if it's positive, I
Mm-hmm.
remember watching The Secret many years ago and I was high.
Yeah,
And I'm like I had a little literally one room apartment and I'm like, sitting there and like I was like not happy in my life. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I'm like watching The Secret, and I'm stoned, and I'm like, wow, like I get it. I just have to be positive all the time.
right,
So I come out of this thing, and just for months, I'm like walking around thinking that I just have to be positive. I
mm-hmm.
misunderstood The Secret.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I did the
literally,
same thing,
you
I
did
did.
that really?
I did. And that's why I'm saying what you said resonated with me, because I think that that is me now, like I feel that I am very positive and I have a very positive outlook on things, but I did the same. I thought it was just like, oh, I just gotta be positive. I just gotta like shift my thoughts and my mind and just be super uber positive about everything. And that's why I have this habit of pushing things right here, or
Mm-hmm.
in the now when I'm talking to him, like I don't do it as much, but sometimes I still do. It's still a little bit of a wiring for me
Mm,
to do that, because I did that. I thought, oh,
mm,
well, that's all I need to do is just, wish, manifest, and just like be positive. But that's, you're missing the point. It's
yeah.
not that. It's not how you get there. Um,
No,
so
so for me specifically, it's interesting to hear that you had the same experience because I do think The Secret is explaining some sort of a universal energetic law that I don't understand specifically, but it makes sense that if you change your frequency, you change what you're attracted to and you change
yeah,
what you're attracting. But you
yes,
can't lie to yourself,
right, right,
and if you're just lying to yourself, you might create more manifestation, but you won't fully be there, to
yes,
be
yes,
empowered and to be present in the manifestation. So
100%. Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting razor's edge line that you walk when you're aware of it. And by the way, when you're overly positive, then the pendulum has a tendency to swing back to the other side. And so
Mm-hmm.
happiness is not a point; it's a range,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Mm-hmm.
like in between that area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's learning the things that work for us that can help keep us there.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's being in alignment with, like like your sovereignty, you know, like your authentic self, like being
Mm,
centered with that. That's really where it is. And I think that, you know, people are talking about the secret, and obviously I'm a Reiki master as well, so I do energy
mm,
work. And yes, raising your vibration and your frequency helps connect you more like on in a universal space, and you know, all the dimensions. We can talk about that another time, but that's absolutely true. But that comes with being in alignment with yourself and your sovereign energy, and you know, and being authentic. One of the things I always say is, you know, if I had a piece of advice to anyone, you know, what would it be? And it was just to, you know, listen to your authentic voice and just be true
mm,
to that.
mm.
And there was a poem, and I would love, you know, and we got to dive into your book, and I definitely want to hear some. I want to share some of your poetry, but one of your pieces, it Learn Fear, is that the correct
Hmm.
title?
Yeah.
It I mean, it resonated with me so much. It was first, it was beautiful, and it just gave me goosebumps. There's so much truth and wisdom, and just the way you express it. And I kind of remember you saying something along those lines, just about your authentic voice.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah, that's
mhm.
true. That I actually use those exact words, your authentic voice. I'm happy to
Mhm.
perform it for you, but I wanted to say one more thing. That
Yeah, yeah.
the personal pain, and by
Hmm.
the way, hello to everyone out there.
Yeah, and
Uh,
we have so many people are like, "I love you and Q, like you're amazing." We
that's
have a lot
awesome,
of
but just
comments
like
coming through.
you know, wherever you guys are, just know I'm sending you a lot of love and
Mhm.
positivity. I hope you're happy and healthy and safe under the circumstances, and just be kind to each other if you can. And thank you for spending a moment with us as well, wherever you are in the world. Um, yeah, I wanted to say that the personal pain is also um, reflected in the collective pain.
Yeah.
And so there's a part of uh, if you're ignoring your personal pain, right?
Mhm.
Or you're blaming other people for it, right? And I'm not
Mhm.
saying you, I'm saying everyone, all of us,
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
Then we also ignore in some way the collective pain,
Yep.
or we blame other people for the collective pain.
Yep.
And that's why everything is happening right now.
Mhm.
It's the virus, which by the way is going to be worse than ever now, once
Yeah.
again. Um,
Yeah.
it's going to be really insane too, which is a whole nother conversation that I don't have to
Yeah.
get into. But
We can
it
further
hasn't
chat about that
brought up
later.
anything that wasn't already here.
Exactly. Yes.
It's just highlighted all of the shit that is not working,
Mhm.
and it's brought up the inequality. You know, it's now we have actual pushes and protests for justice and reform that is
Mhm.
happening globally, because
Mhm.
it's just so obvious what's happening, and
Mhm.
people can't ignore it anymore, which they shouldn't.
Mhm.
Um, and the healthcare system, and
Mhm.
the politics, and
Mhm.
the uh, division, and the demonization of facts and science. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, and all of this ultimately leads into climate change,
Yeah.
which you won't be able to get a vaccine for,
Right.
you know? So
Right.
there's like all of this stuff is happening right now. And if we're
Mhm.
that caterpillar, you know, that's on the
Yep.
hike that I saw the other day, we're going to have a lot of struggle to get out of it. But,
Mhm.
you know, that means not ignoring or exacerbating our own personal pain, using it to create rather than destroy,
Yep.
and not ignoring or exacerbating our collective pain, using
Yep.
it to make real change
Yep.
for everyone,
Yep.
you know, so that we can all be a part of the ideal of the American dream.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're so on the same page with everything. And it is really taking this pain that we're going through right now, that this is the metamorphosis, you know, this is
Right.
taking us to growth, you know. If as long as that's what we see right there, like in the future, that what comes out of all this is growth, growth and change. It's not for naught. It's not just like shit that we have to go through. Sorry, I never swear, but you know what I mean.
Sorry,
You
I'm
know?
probably, I swear all the time. I apologize.
But you know that there's a point for this, and again, as you said, these are all things that were existing before. It's just that now they're just at the surface, and they're put right in front of our face so that we can't ignore it, because it is time for change on every level. So thank you for sharing that. I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
And we
for
can
sure.
chat later.
Do you want to hear the learned fear piece?
I would love to. I mean, you share whatever it is that you want to share, and we definitely have time. That's one of my favorite pieces. So like, I would love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I'll
Um,
absolutely do that one. Yeah, for sure.
okay,
So
cool.
I'll tell everybody out there. So I brought my book. I sat
Yes.
it next to me like an absolute imbecile, but I love
No,
this book. I'm
no.
really proud of it.
I want you to talk
Um,
about the book too, and the tree, everything.
yeah, cool. So for those of the people that haven't seen the book, so here it is. It's Inquire Within,
Mm-hmm.
and you see that branches mirror the roots, and the roots mirror the branches.
Mm-hmm.
So if you turn it upside down, the roots become the branches, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. And then when you turn it to the side, it's lungs,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's why the two halves of the book are inhale and exhale. And inhale is like
Mm-hmm.
the personal, poetic hero's journey, I guess, and it's about my life and um, the never-ending process of growth.
Yes.
And exhale is the social and political stuff,
Yeah.
and it's ultimately, change yourself, change the world, and that
Mm-hmm.
what we have on the inside mirrors what happens on the outside, and that's why we have to be very careful what we say to ourselves and what we say to others. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is we wanted it to be the right and left hemisphere of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think it looks that way. Well, lungs,
yeah,
brain. I'm
yeah,
kind of obsessed with the cover of your book. When you talked about it the first time, I was like, so
yeah.
brilliant,
Thanks.
so simple,
Thank you.
mind
Yeah. Well,
expansion. Mhm.
nature is so crazy, right? Because
Yeah,
like even this, I'm not like overly promoting it, but I love this book, so I want people to read it. But it kind of looks like veins too.
yeah. Oh, it totally does. I look at it and I think of veins. That's why when you said the lungs, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. So you
totally.
really kind of, but I mean, it could be lungs, but it could be veins anywhere. I mean, the
Yeah,
trees
anywhere.
are the lungs of the world, really,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and all of the roots. I mean, everything is so
Yeah.
interconnected
Yeah.
and energetically interconnected, but physically connected as well.
Yeah.
And so one thing really does impact other things, whether or not we can acknowledge it. And even in our own daily lives, that's something that can be applied, because you never know how a simple kindness
Yeah.
or a compliment or a
Yeah.
smile or really connecting with someone and asking them how they are
Yeah.
can impact not only their day but their life.
Yes.
Crazy things have happened that you will never know about from
Mm-hmm.
something you've done in
Yep.
just a moment of being present and being nice. You can say something to someone that can plant a seed in their mind that years later will become something else that you'll never
Yeah.
find out about. So,
Absolutely.
it's something to think about as we all go through today. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's
Okay.
just a reminder how powerful we each as individuals are. I mean, I talk about that a lot. It's just like we are powerful, powerful beings, and we can empower ourselves with things that we don't even need tangibles or externals, like we have it within us. And I totally agree. Just one kind word, it's like a micro moment that
Yeah.
just, it's like a domino effect and becomes something you don't even know. And anyway, I keep interrupting you. I'm just like
No,
so
no,
excited right now,
no.
for you
I
to
love
share.
hearing your thoughts too. Okay, so this is called Learn Fear. It's from the book, and there it is. Learned fear can be overcome when you realize the voice inside your head is not yours. It's an imitation of the voices from before, repeating on a loop inside your quiet core, receiving since your youth when your choices weren't even yours. Perceiving was the proof, but reality has many doors, so why are we still fighting other people's wars? Learned fear can be overcome when you realize the voice inside your head is not yours. It's an imitation of the voices from before, repeating on a loop inside your quiet core. And you can't tell the difference because it sounds the same. But trust me when I tell you, most of what you think is from somebody else's brain. They have us trained, shackled by imaginary chains, imaginary rules for imaginary games. But they don't know the reasons either. So where should we place the blame? And who is they anyway when we're all the same? Our parents had parents, and their parents had parents. Apparently, it hurts to see, so I'll be transparent. The world is so much bigger than your insecurities. And they don't speak on your behalf without your soul's authority. The world is so much bigger than your culture or community, and they don't speak on your behalf without your soul's authority. Because if it's all a story, then nobody else can tell it for me. Since I'm always transforming, I defy a category. When you do the same thing the same way, it's habit forming. But nothing in this land of woman and man is mandatory. It's all just transitory. Our world is a laboratory. Experimenting on today can change tomorrow morning. And since matter is mostly empty space, we're in a sea of consciousness where the boundaries are erased. So I stared at my reflection until I couldn't see my face. Then I picked myself and put the flowers in an empty vase. If you came for validation, then you're in the wrong place. The only certain satisfaction is becoming what you've chased, and there's no running from the inner voice. So it's important that you choose, but it's more important that you know you have a choice. You have a choice. Are you living someone else's life? You have a voice. Does it haunt you in the dead of night? Would you fly if you weren't convinced to be afraid of heights? And who convinced you anyway? They had no fucking right. Right? No one can dim your light. You shine within so bright that you could blind the sun from sight and scare him back into the night. No one can dim your light. I said it twice because you're greater than the circumstances that surround your perfect life. You're not your nature or your nurture, you're a prototype. And if you hone it right, eventually you'll hack your satellite. At first, it's nothing. Then nothing turns into a whisper. Turn the dial, and it gets crisper in your transistor. Wait a while, and the whisper turns into a scream. It overwhelms your system, and you won't know what it means. But pump the volume up, and it can tell you all your dreams, till pretty soon it's the only voice you'll ever need. Now all you have to do is listen when you want to lead. Your fear disintegrates when you decide to stop and breathe. It's your authentic voice. No matter where you go, it never leaves. And that's God, no matter what religion you believe. I'm starting my own religion, and everyone is welcome, but nobody can join. If you did, you'd miss the point.
God, makes me want to
Thanks.
cry sometimes.
That's okay.
Like, so powerful. And I don't, just for me personally, I've heard you now several times. I think you have it posted in a couple places, and every time it's so powerful. just thank you for your art. Thank you for what
Yeah,
you
thank you
do.
for listening.
Yeah, it's really
Trust me, I'm definitely talking to myself.
I,
100% I'm talking to myself.
yeah.
So,
Well, I know you don't want to promote your book so much, but I do, I mean, it's magic. Your book is, I don't like to use the word medicine, but it's medicine for a lot of people. It's
thank you.
magic, it's a tool. I want you to talk a little bit more about it right now. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about where you drew your inspiration from. We've already talked about that a bit during this time, but what else? Tell us about it. Promote it.
Yeah, so to be quite honest, I never intended to be an author.
Uh,
You know,
just happened.
well, I've been writing these poems for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a poem that's that old in here, but I've been writing for 25 years. I'd say there's one of them that's probably the oldest is 14 years in the poem. I
Wow.
mean, in the a poem that's 14 years in the book.
Mm-hmm.
We've been traveling around the country and the world performing.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing like 60 or 70 shows a year
Mm-hmm.
before the quarantine in public. I was
Wow.
doing workshops. I was doing keynote
Mm-hmm.
speeches where companies would hire me to come in
Mm-hmm.
um, and you know we wanted to create something that would uh, be a home for the art.
Mm-hmm.
And so ultimately we decided on creating the book. So even though that they
Yeah.
were initially intended to be performed, we
Right.
found a way over a year process to
Mm-hmm.
translate them um, so that they actually have a different life in the book,
Mm.
and
Mm. Okay.
they're more meaningful in a different way. And so it's quite interesting for me to finally have this book after so long. So the first thing that we did was we got I have an amazing agent, Andy Barsby, and we just connected with her pretty quickly. It all happened very fast, actually, which is
Uh-huh.
kind of a another example of following the flow of life rather than
Yeah.
telling life what you want, because
Yeah.
there were so many things we were trying to do that we couldn't figure out how to do. And then as soon as I decided to make a book, Kevin and who was my manager and
Uh-huh.
I just we did it very quickly. We found
Yeah.
uh, Andy. We connected with her. We went out with a little bit of a like a deck, and
Mm.
then we got 4 meetings and we got 3 offers, and we took not only the best offer but the offer with the best company that we felt most aligned with, which is
Mm-hmm.
Harper One,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the spiritual division of HarperCollins. So they do The Alchemist and The Four Agreements and all these books that
Oh.
I'm such a huge fan
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Um, and
Favorites.
so then we put this together. And then the other thing that we did was we created all of these amazing illustrations throughout the book. So this is the illustration for Learned Fear, and it's a, a
Mm-hmm.
boy or a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and they're I don't know what they're doing. I think that they're making friends with their darkness, but
Mm.
not allowing it to overtake them.
They're
But
connecting with
there's
their shadow.
60 or sorry, go ahead.
Like they're connecting with their shadow, not running away from it, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, so there's 60 or 70 illustrations in here, so it reads
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a Shel Silverstein-esque, who I'm a big fan of,
Yes,
book,
love.
but in my style.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm just unbelievably proud of the book. I mean, we've sold just over 14,000, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been out not very long. And it also came out during the height of the global pandemic, the fear and
Yeah.
anxiety around it, which was really insane to try to promote something during that period of time. But to your point, this was medicine for me to write, and it's
Mm.
medicine for people to read as well in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the feedback we've been getting. So you can get it in the book form, or you can get the audiobook, which is me reading all of my poems to you. And then
Wait,
you can,
I
yeah,
didn't know that. I ordered the book form. It's coming, but I
yeah,
didn't know I could get it, and I'm getting both. So
yeah.
that's like
Well, it's
done.
crazy. Most people have gotten both. They get one and then they get the other. They get the
Yeah.
book and then they get the audiobook, and they'll read them together. Like they'll put it on and they'll, you know, or they'll get the audiobook and then they actually want to have something to hold in their hands and they want to see the illustrations. And we worked really hard on the formatting too, to like make sure that it somehow expressed what the poems felt like when they were being performed live. So it's my first book, and I am really, really proud of it, and I want as many people to read it as possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm so proud of you. I've yet to do my first book, but I know
Do
from
it.
friends who are authors, I know there's something that you said about just starting before you're ready. I actually was going to ask you about that because it was such a great point. I don't even remember where I heard it, but yeah, you're saying just do it, and that's what it takes. But back to this, it's just I'm so proud of you, and I'm really just so grateful that you are sharing again what are tools and medicine to other people. I mean, you're helping so many people. You've already helped so many people, and I think that even though it came out during this pandemic, it couldn't have been better timed in a lot of ways because this is when people need it, and more people need to know about it. You know, that's why we're doing this. Like,
Thank
so,
you.
so real quick, where can they go? Can they go to your Instagram? Like, tell everyone we're not done yet, but just definitely before people start to jump off. Although we've like people have stayed on, and thank you
Yeah,
guys
it's
for
cool.
staying on.
Yeah,
It's so
thank you.
awesome. Maybe they want another little snippet. But
Yeah, I can do something else if you like. Do you have
yeah,
something else that you want to hear?
no, surprise us. But before that, tell everyone all the places they can go to find out more about you, where they can get the book. Just share. And of course, when we reshare the replays, we'll have all that all up as well. And we have
Awesome.
it on the caption. You know, we have all that everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely get it at Amazon. You can definitely get it. It's called Inquire Within. You can get
Mm-hmm.
it on Audible for the
Mm-hmm.
audiobook. You can definitely get it at independent bookstores, although we worked so hard to get it into independent bookstores. And because of everything that happened and the confusion, sometimes it can be a little more complicated that way. But I certainly encourage people to support your local bookstores, especially during this time.
100%.
Um, and and yeah, you know, you can definitely follow me on Instagram. I'm doing a bunch of videos and posts and things of that nature. Or you can go to my website at in-q.com. InQ is short for in question. So it's a nickname that I got when I was 15 years old. My friend started
Yeah,
calling me Inquiry because I
I
asked so
love
many questions. He was like, "You're curious. I'm going to start calling you Inquiry." And then people started calling me InQ, and then people started calling me Q, and like literally, only my family calls me Adam, which is my real name.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you shared that because I was actually kind of curious, and I didn't ask it, but that's a cool story of how you got your nickname.
yeah,
So cool. So yeah, you guys go check it out, and you know he just posts the coolest stuff just on his social platforms, on his Instagram. You've probably seen some of it because I share them and I repost in my stories every so often. I should probably do it more because again, healing tools for everyone. Um, but go check him out, follow him, and we'll definitely put this replay up on our private Facebook group, as you guys know. Sign up there, and we'll have all the links, and you can find everything also on the post that we shared today on our very special guest. But we have some time, so surprise us. Share us
okay,
something.
yeah.
Let's get a
I'll read
snippet
some.
or whatever it is that you want.
Cool. Let's see what else is in here. What else is in here? I'm actually gonna read something because usually I would just like perform other
Okay.
stuff, but oh, you know what I'll do? I'll read something new and then I'll read something right into the book because that'll be fun for me.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me find something.
You guys, you just like we're seriously we're so blessed right now. I mean, we're blessed all the time. Like if you really kind of drop into your presence, like we're all blessed no matter what's going on. But in this moment right now, we are like super blessed that we're gonna get this treat. We've had this hours worth of all kinds of
That's so
treats.
nice. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you
Oh
for
yeah,
sharing me
no.
with your community as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Okay, I
really.
wrote this week and then I'll just go into some other stuff for fun.
Oh, you ordered this week? Oh, this is super
Yeah.
new.
Yeah, it's like brand new.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
If I could hear your thoughts, would I think you are insane?
Hmm.
If you projected on a wall what goes on inside your brain, would I be like, oh my God, someone break out the restraints? This representative they have in public is a fake. This can't be your mind state. It's probably some kind of mistake. You can't really be recycling this type of self hate. Would I
Hmm.
call you crazy even though I secretly relate?
Hmm.
Would I lock you in a padded room and throw the key away? Would I judge you so I wouldn't have to contemplate my fate? There's a hamster wheel inside my brain that I cannot escape. Between the dreamer and the dream, there is someone still awake. I caught a glimpse when I was on the rope swing at Hidden Lake. Afterwards, I sat in silence, but I couldn't meditate. The mountain wanted nothing from me. It was there to fill the space. It didn't sell me shit or need me to exist to keep its place. It just stared at me until I saw myself inside its face. If I die tonight, I hope I will be grateful for today. There's a mirror in my eyes, and I will never turn away. All this nature is alive, and yet it has nothing to say, or not nothing, but the nothing that it says I can't convey. I am something, or at least I like to think myself that way. So I think myself in circles, that way I can't get away. And the misery it causes means I'll always get my way. I'm addicted to the suffering. I do it every day. We're addicted to the suffering. We do it every day. But I'm noticing the universe might have a better way. If I can separate the thinker from the thoughts inside my mind, then I can dance with the divinity and slow the hands of time. There's a ghost in the machine. It's a part of the design. I respect the mountain even when I don't enjoy the climb. I used to look up when I prayed. I would raise my head to the sky as if God lived in a penthouse made of clouds. As a kid, I thought he could hear my prayers better when I was on a plane. After all, I was closer to him. I would ride elevators to the top floor just to whisper my secret desires. I've never told anyone that. As an adolescent, I stopped praying altogether. I didn't believe in belief. It seemed to me that people had created God to control themselves and others. It was the long con, self-delusion as a form of therapy. I convinced myself I was stronger than that. I wasn't. As a young man, I explored spirituality. I wanted answers. I devoured every self-help book I could get my hands on. I watched The Secret 2 times in a row and still somehow managed to misunderstand the law of attraction. It was quite comical, really. They say the difference between intelligence and wisdom is experience. But you can have experience without having wisdom or intelligence. So what the fuck do they know? Recently, I started praying again. I couldn't specifically tell you why, but if pressed, I'd say it had to do with a sudden and unexpected need to surrender. I felt the urge to bow in the service of something greater than myself. But I didn't want religion to get in the way. So one night, as the overwhelming silence of the city filled my empty room, I knelt at the foot of my bed and I prayed. It was oddly familiar, except this time, instead of looking up to God, I looked inside. Keep loving through your sadness. Keep loving through your fears. Keep loving through your anger. Keep loving through your tears. Keep loving through your failure. Keep loving through success. Keep loving through anxiety. Keep loving through your stress. Keep loving through rejection. Keep loving through mistrust. Keep loving through the changes. Keep loving through the death. Keep loving through your movement. Keep loving through your breath. Keep loving until loving is the only thing that's left.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. That was just beautiful. I actually shared that, I think, that last portion.
Mm.
You posted that, and I had
Yeah,
I shared them. That was so so powerful. Some things are just so powerful in its simplicity. So
thank you.
thank you so much. I feel like I meditated actually for a
Me
moment.
too.
So
This was
yeah.
nice. This was good for me as well, you know?
Yeah, no, that was just awesome. And I think we're probably going to get kicked off in about 2 or 3 minutes here. So
It's all good.
again, thank you so much. That was just that was just so beautiful. I have no other words except that that was just so beautiful, all of it. And I enjoyed so much just learning a little bit more. And I appreciate all the stories you shared and just taking the time. I appreciate you sharing your magic with all of us.
I enjoyed it equally as much, and we'll do it again sometime. And thank you
Yeah,
very much for sharing me with your community, and thank you very much for everyone listening. And really, just know that we're sending you a lot of love wherever you are in the world.
yes,
And if you do get Inquire Within, if you get the audio or you get the actual book, definitely reach out to me and let me know what you think about it, because I love getting messages from people. So. Uh, that's it.
yeah, you guys, and if you get the book, take a picture, tag him, let him know that you got the book and what you think of it and how it's helping you. So that's just it's a beautiful thing to share. So thank you guys again. I'm so grateful you guys always you come on every day and just share your time and space, and I love you for it. I'm so grateful and thank you again and Q. And I'm gonna text you after this.
Okay,
And
sounds good.
okay, perfect. Okay, all right, bye you
Cool.
guys. I'll see you
Bye, everyone.
soon.